I realized that maybe in the beginning, asking people to do a daily meditation, that's a lot to ask. It's like any habit.
Why is it hard to ask?
Maybe because we're always racing around. Maybe we might be forgetful. It is deceptively easy. Just sit down and close your eyes for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I think part of it is like people are not used to being alone with their thoughts. And I don't blame them because once again, especially now we have so much technology taking up every little mind space.
You're listening to Yellow Chair Collective Season 5 with Jonathan Lee, meditation teacher and meditation practitioner.
You know what's really funny? I was playing around with also doing a podcast, but just for like fun.
I'm curious, Jonathan, because the reason why we met was because you were leading a meditation circle for Yellow Chair Collective, where I work. And one of the things I really appreciated about your meditation practice is just how easy it was. And so I know that you used to lead the meditation club, or was it like a meditation circle at your college?
Yeah, so it went by a couple different names, but the original name was the University Buddhist Association. So there were several chapters across the UCs like UCLA, UC Irvine. I was part of the UC San Diego chapter, and that's where I got my start with being in a meditation circle and then also leading it eventually as I stayed longer in the organization.
Raised in a Buddhist home?
I think there are a lot of Chinese and maybe even Vietnamese families that will officially say they are Buddhist. It's interesting because it's like a mixture of traditional animistic religion combined with acknowledgement of Buddhist figures. So I guess in the West, they're probably most familiar with Japanese Shintoism, which is pure nature spirits, and that like anime, like Miyazaki movies or whatever. So be one with nature, hear all these different small little gods or whatever to represent nature and your ancestors. And there's a version of that in Chinese religion. And the interesting thing about Buddhism as it's moved through a lot of the Asian countries is how it combines with the local beliefs to create like different variations. So I guess in long and short, I was officially Buddhist, but really it was more a cultural Chinese religion.
Fascinating. And so what I'm hearing you say is it wasn't until college that you got into a daily meditation practice. Was it out of interest that you started going?
Yeah. So basically, I wasn't really religious per se, no daily religious practices. When I went to college, I wanted to expand my understanding of human nature. I actually joined two different religious clubs. So the Buddhist Association was one of them. And the other one was this club called InterVarsity, which is a Christian club. So I wanted to just experience like how does religion impact someone's life? I want to understand all that. And that's when I came into doing meditations every week as well. It started like every week and then maybe every couple of days. It comes and goes. So I wouldn't say I have per se a daily meditation practice, but I have a daily mindfulness practice. And the distinction with that is there will be many moments throughout my day where I just remind myself to pause and just take in like life, existence, the present moment. That's influenced by, there's a very cheeky joke that a monk said to me. And he said, I meditate 2 times a day, once when I open my eyes and once when I close my eyes. And so it's more like you build up that sort of awareness and behavior over time. And all meditation is, we call it a practice. And that's the practice of cultivating gratitude, mindfulness, all that different stuff.
Interesting. Yeah. When I first started getting into a daily meditation practice, I thought all it was like a headspace. Actually, I thought all it was closing your eyes, putting your thumb to your finger, and finding a pulse. But it sounds like it's something a lot more than what American culture has made it out to be. And so, can you unpack a lot of the biggest misconceptions people have with meditation?
Yeah, I'm glad that you're letting me talk about that. It has been, let's say, a divisive issue within like the Buddhist community at large, is how meditation is being represented and transmitted in American culture in the West compared to how it was in Asia where it first started. And I think going back to what I said earlier, where it's like Buddhism and even and Hinduism, there's a cultural significance or cultural traditions and spirituality baked into meditation. So I think the biggest misconception is that it's just meditation, that you close your eyes and you just hum or meditate, have someone guide you or through an app for a couple minutes, and then you're good. Like I said, we call it a practice. So you're practicing, you're building up your mind and like your heart to first appreciate you're in the present moment, just ground yourself. It's to teach you to observe how chaotic your thoughts are. Like that's one thing that should be a goal, is you can stop and notice and, oh, my mind's racing right now. What does this mean? How can I bring it back? And like little by little, and which is frustrating because it's a very long term, it's a lifelong practice that you can do. It can be frustrating how slow the process is in the beginning. Because I'll admit, like when I started, I was falling asleep a lot. I'm sure a lot of people do. One thing is, if you're falling asleep in meditation, that probably just means you're tired and you should sleep more. So that's one thing. The other thing is there are many different types of meditation. It's not just sitting down and breathing. That's like a standard type. I know like there's like a term called breath work now, which kind of categorizes that. But there's stuff like, for example, eating meditation, where there's a story of how a monk may take an entire afternoon just to drink 1 cup of tea.
Wow.
And that could be an exaggeration. That could be a story, but the whole idea is you're trying to really take in and focus on the cup of tea. Or when I used to run it in my organization, it would be like an orange, a tangerine. I find that citrus fruits are very useful because they have a very pungent, they have a very strong smell. You want to have people really notice, oh, this smell that you take for granted, this fruit that you take for granted, this flavor, texture, appreciate all of it. It took a long time for it to get to you. A tree had to grow it. A farmer had to spend time laboring to make sure a tree was healthy and then pick it. how many truck drivers, how many people worked and packaged it just to get that fruit to you. And once again, going back to awareness and gratitude, that's why it's very important for Buddhists not to waste food, because there's that appreciation that, look, nature had to grow it. And then you can't count how many people it took to labor to bring it over. So going back to eating meditation, you're trying to appreciate it, take it all in, really train your mind to focus on this one thing. And how that relates to what people think of breathing meditation is that in breathing meditation, your focus is your breath. It might be your body. It might be the thoughts in your mind. Similarly, you can put that focus on something else as well, hence eating meditation. And then there's stuff like sleeping meditation, walking meditation. There's a bunch of different varieties that all serve to train different ways, train your mind and your heart.
I think this is really important for people who are listening to double click on, because what you just said about it's not just about closing your eyes, seeing sailboats pass by, and letting your thoughts go. It's the practice of the presence. And so it's more than just sitting down and taking in the breath. It's also taking in nature and how nature has brought you oranges or apples to get to this place. And so I think it's an appreciation for our ecological system. What I'm hearing you say, it's an appreciation for life itself and the beauty that life is given to give you this day and this meal. And I'm curious about how much work it took for you to begin to understand this practice. Was it an understanding of the beauty of nature from the teachings of other monks? Was it being submersed in this type of community in college? How do you continue to do this work, Jonathan, and expand your understanding of religion and humanity and breath work?
I think it's very helpful to have a group and a teacher. So relating back to how Buddhists feel about it, there are like three parts. It's like you value the Buddha, which is like your role model. In fact, there are many Buddhas. Usually when people say the Buddha, they mean like the one, like the OG Buddha. I guess a way to relate it is almost like, yeah, in Christianity you have Jesus, but then you have all these saints as well that are similarly or equally holy. But here we say that they've reached enlightenment. So you have the Buddha, you have the Dharma, which is the scripture, the teachings of the Buddha and other Buddhists. And then you have the Sangha, and Sangha means like community, which in this way may be your temple community, or in many cases, your meditation circle. And I think it was so important and impactful that I had a consistent group of people to meditate with every week. And partially that's just human nature. You keep everyone accountable because we all have busy lives. And then you have the conversations about how you do it, what your experiences are, because it's like a way to relate and also know that you're not alone and other people may find the same appreciation as you do. And then I think there is a significant moment. There's a guy named Jeffrey Zlotnick. He is in charge of Dharma Bum's temple down in San Diego. He did a lot of, I call it guided meditations with my group and SDSU. I know he's actually even done TED Talk or whatever just for meditation. And he's had a couple different organizations or practices to help other people. Like, I know he used to go to certain prisons to teach inmates how to meditate, military members like veterans. So he's been around the place. So I remember meeting him and eventually getting to know him more as I took lead for the organization and steered it around. And he became like my friend and mentor and someone I referenced a lot of what I did. So does that kind of
Yeah.
help?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
sorry.
helps a lot.
I went in like a tangent.
No, it sounds like you really looked for community. I recently listened to a podcast with Dr. Robert Waldinger, and is a Harvard professor who did the longest study in happiness and aging. It's 85 years old and he's a professor for Harvard, and he talks about how like one of the key things that people get wrong is the power of human relationship. And it's really interesting. He talks about how a lot of American consumerism has convinced you that more money, more fame, and more stuff will bring you happiness. And I really believe that this pull towards meditation and the simple practice of showing up at a mat or in your living room table or whatever and sitting down to drink a cup of tea or eat an orange, I think there's a craving for simplicity that people really want. And even you talking about your search for that, for a sense of meaning, for a sense of purpose, I'm curious about what you've seen change about you as a result of this meditation practice, as a result of your own like daily mindfulness practice.
I definitely became a better listener. There's actually one practice I did back when I was leading these meetings where it's just like an icebreaker. It's like listening meditation. And so the premise is no one's a good listener, or like we all want to be listened to, but there's no one
Listening.
it's the listening.
Wow.
And I can't remember if it was a quote by the Buddha or anything like that, but it was somewhere someone like showed me this. So it was basically split up into like groups of two, and one person literally just talks about their day for like minute, 5 minutes, whatever, how long it takes. And then the other person just tries to focus on what the other person's saying, like literally just listen, take it all in, whatever the emotions, thoughts, words, and then they flip the switch. And then after the exercise is done, we go around the circle. I'm like, okay, what did the other person say? What was your impression of the other person? Oh, Bob was telling me about his day and he seemed a little bit stressed out, but he's happy to be here now, stuff like that. And then June, Bob's partner, would say, oh yeah, she had a pretty good day. She had like a test or two and she felt pretty good and stuff like that. So it's really training people to become more compassionate to each other. And once again, be more present. And being more present means with a human being definitely means taking them in, listening. And so I definitely became a better listener because I think growing up and even now, I'm a little bit of a blabbermouth. I'm a bit of an extrovert,
Naturally.
so I like to talk.
Me too.
It does help that you're giving me a podcast to talk to.
No, this is actually really fun for me. After I listened to that podcast episode with Dr. Robert Waldinger, I'll reference it in this episode, but I love being curious about other people. I used to be that kid who would talk to strangers, and my mom would get mad at me for talking to strangers. Like, why'd you give that person our address? Or why'd you tell that person where we live? And I think that hearing about your story is just so interesting. I love learning about other people. Tell me more about what else has changed in your life. So outside of listening and presence, has anything else changed in your life as a result of that?
I think I just overall, I just appreciate experiences more, like sounds and sights. There'll always be like a moment every day, no matter how stressed out or anxious I am. And maybe it might be because some days are deep, stressful and anxious. I really remind myself to do this, but I just close my eyes for a couple seconds and I just take it all in. The sounds, the experiences, how you're feeling. I love walking and just doing that. You're just existing. You're just being in that moment. I'm more aware of my thoughts. Once again, pulling that back. Okay, I'm spiraling into a not helpful or very negative thought train. Let's reel it back in. And once again, it goes back to the whole idea where meditation is a practice for building, your compassion, your gratitude, and your awareness for you and your thoughts.
I enjoy that. One of the things that came to mind for me while you were talking about that is that your benefits come from the way that it's serving others. And I think that one of my selfish intents for starting meditation was to just become less of an anxious person. Can I tell you a story about how I got into it?
Oh yeah, sure. Go for it.
So my sophomore year in college, I took a social psychology class with a man named Dr. Bernard McGrain. He was this short 5'2" white man who actually became a Zen Buddhist at around the 1970s. And the reason for that was because he was recently divorced and was looking for a sense of peace. And so every day in class, before we would even say anything, he would take out like a timer and he would let us just meditate for 10 minutes before we said anything. And I noticed a physical difference in the way that I showed up with other people because when they call this the monkey mind, where your brain is just everywhere, spiraling across different spaces. But I noticed that my mind became more focused on what was around me than about myself. And the desire to be important or the desire to be more than who I was dissipated a little bit. And I started to see other people for who they really were. And I think it's like one of the biggest misconceptions that I'm glad I believed when I first got into meditation, that in some ways it would elevate me, but if anything, it just let me exist. And by existing, I started to just really enjoy my life and enjoy what life was really about. And so when I hear you talking about existence and what it really means to just have gratitude and have compassion and have empathy for other people, I think it's just being focused. It's like living life with eyes wide open.
Yeah. It's a subtle change. And that's why I said it's like a slow process. I remember there were many points where I felt frustrated that, oh, I'm meditating. I'm supposed to be more patient. I'm supposed to be more compassionate. Like, why isn't this working? Like, you can't really force it. I think it's really cool that your professor did that because it's just, honestly, I think every organization, every session of anything could benefit from just, okay, guys, we're all here together. Let's just take a couple minutes to like just breathe. Doesn't even have to be an official meditation practice, but just, okay, we all just came through a door. Our hearts are pounding a little bit. We're all like buzzing in our minds. Let's just settle in before we start whatever it is. I think, yeah, we could all benefit from that. I think especially how chaotic the world can be. I think it's even more important. I'm trying to think of anything else that I want to add.
It's okay. Can I double click on something you said in the beginning?
Yeah.
There's something that you said that I want you to unpack on for a little bit, because in a microwave world where we expect everything to be instant peace and instant gratitude, instant purchase, instant 2-day shipping from Amazon, for example, you said it's a slow process. Like, I expected myself to be a more patient person. I expected myself to be a little bit more empathetic or a better listener right away. And so, can you elaborate on that? That meditation and getting into that practice is a slow process. What does that mean to you?
Take baby steps. Go easy on yourself. I emphasize, as I got more settled in my Buddhist practice and within the club, I realized that maybe in the beginning, asking people to do a daily meditation, that's a lot to ask. It's like any habit.
Why is it hard to ask?
Maybe because we're always racing around. Maybe we might be forgetful.
Yeah.
It's like any habit where when you start, it's like going to the gym. I think I liken meditation a lot to physical health, like physical exercise, where, yeah, you want to run a marathon. You want to run every day. Maybe just try walking once a week first, maybe jogging and then running. You build up to it. The same way, it is deceptively easy.
Isn't that the truth?
To say, just sit down and close your eyes for 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I think part of it is like people are not used to being alone with their thoughts. And I don't blame them because once again, especially now we have so much technology taking up every little mind space. It is an active, conscious effort to just put that phone down, to like disconnect from email, disconnect from whatever games or activity, and just sit for a few minutes. And so because of that, I'm like, okay, so you don't have to meditate every day. That's a lot. You don't have, ideally you can meditate at least once a week. And once again, that's where having a group, a sangha, is so, I think, important in the beginning, because that accountability, that community to bring people in. And so usually I tell people, I'm like, hey, next time you're waiting in line, because we all have to wait in line for something in like our week, in our day, instead of just looking at your phone, just put it down, because you're gonna get to the final line eventually, and just close your eyes, take in all the sounds or just whatever. Just really notice that moment. And you don't even have to do it for the entire time. Just do it for a minute, do it for 2. And I really believe in like those small baby steps to ease people in, because once again, it's like a joke. It's like sitting down and meditating is both the easiest and hardest thing to do in the world. And so when I started, I was not really kind to myself. And I think part of it is the narrative around meditation, especially in America, where it's like, you see all those gurus like, yeah, man, I wake up at 4, 5 a.m. every day and I meditate for 10, 30 minutes and then write down in my journal all my things. It creates this unnecessary mythos and barrier to entry and pressure around meditation, when in reality, it can be the simplest thing. But you don't put that so much pressure. You will get there eventually if you are consistent enough. And in reality, it's literally it's like the most free thing in the world. All you need to do is close your eyes and sit down. You can do it anywhere, anytime. No matter how healthy you are, you can take a few minutes out of your day and you will do it at your own pace. And so that was something that didn't hit me until I had to reassure others about it. So first I had to be reassured by other people in my community. Yeah, Caitlin wakes up at 4 a.m. every day to meditate, but that's her.
Yeah.
You can just do it before a meal, just once a week. And now there are times where I may do it daily, maybe a couple days a week. Nowadays I do it maybe every few days. But what's more important to me is that I do have those moments of just being present, being mindful. Sometimes to me, meditating might even just be listening to a friend intently about their day or their problem. Because once again, it's just being about gratitude, about compassion. It really goes back to the tenets of Buddhism, where everyone hears like the Four Noble Truths. And the first one is life is suffering. And suffering, it has a few different connotations, but the acknowledgement that everyone is struggling and going through with something in their lives, it should make you feel more compassionate. It should make you want to realize and help people more. And the whole idea of having people learn to meditate is to help them in that way and then empower them to help others once they've cultivated themselves.
Yeah, it sounds like one of the three principles of self-compassion, which goes into a lot of the Buddhist practices where suffering is inevitable, but you have to accept that it will come and that you're human, but we can control our interpretation of those events. It doesn't really matter whether or not it'll come, it will come. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so I admire your practice of just practicing presence. But I also don't want to neglect something that you said earlier was, you listen to a lot of these productivity experts that say, you just have to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning and meditate and give it 30 minutes of your time. And it is really intimidating because there's an ethos to these people talking. Like there's almost this blinded expectation that it's only when you become a millionaire or become successful that you can give yourself the privilege of meditation or rest, right? And so I think that being able to make it easy is something that a lot of people neglect. And even as a mental health therapist, I just finished reading this book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and he tells this story of two men. He says one man was given $200 a month for starting a business. And so he made $2 a day, putting in 30 minutes a day of work, while Scott, his friend, made $5,000 for doing nothing. Over the last year, let's say his name's Dale. Dale made $242 that year, and his friend Scott made $60,000. But over the span of 2 years, those 18 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, those small compound effects that you dedicate into your day every single day allowed his friend Dale to surpass him by 2.4 million. And so it's not necessarily how much you get done in a short amount of time. It's the amount of investment and pennies that you're willing to invest in yourself today so that you can eventually get to a place where you are in a place of spiritual mastery. Not to say that we're ever going to fully get there. It's possible to get to that place of 20, 30 minutes. It just takes making it stupid easy for yourself in the beginning.
And I would even say, it's riding a bike. You're going to fall down.
Yeah.
It's fine. Fall down. In this case, falling down might mean, you skipped a week, missed a week or two. It's home. Just get back up. Never, as long as you can make it consistent for you. You can't do once a day, do once a week. If you can't do once a week, try it once every 2 weeks. But the important part is you're building it up. And it's not a metric. You're not comparing yourself to anyone else. Once again, I was comparing myself to other club members. I'm like, oh my God, how do they do that? And then I'm like, well, it's like they do their thing, I do my thing. And then eventually I got to a competent place. And then now I don't even, like you say, like I have a, there, like in a way, I admire you for having meditation practice because I don't even do that.
And I think I kind of want to comment on that comparison thing too, because oftentimes people think that comparison is a bad thing, but our brains were actually built to look out for comparison for survival purposes. The reason why we feel certain things like, oh, she's better than me, or this person's better than me, is because our brains weren't adapted for this fast moving technological revolution. Our brains were created during a time when we didn't have like iPhones or computers or a glass screen where we had access to a billion people on the planet. We were made to survive. You know, the reason why we love sugar is because sugar gave us energy and it kept us alive, not because our brain hates us. And so being able to look at me, for example, or to look at your friend or other people in the club, it just elevates your understanding of what's possible. It doesn't make you less than. It's just your brain going, oh, Jonathan, you can do better. It's not necessarily like the interpretation we give it dictates the direction of the thought of whether or not something is good or bad. But I think that there's a sense of self-compassion where I think one of the things I'm learning to unlearn is to not have such a structured day. I think sometimes structure can take away from the presence.
It can't. I agree. For me personally, I do need more structure, but that's because I think I'm naturally more unstructured. I understand what you're saying though. I think going back to like how your mind interprets it. So everything you said is, I totally agree because there are just so many things. I think especially in mental health, it really is like our brains were not built for the environment that we're in right now. And that's why all these different problems are occurring. For example, the idea of anxiety, in a way, just surviving is anxious in itself. And we were not wired to be like on all the time for 8+ hours in a work day, plus however many long. And then I just remember stuff like, oh yeah, the amygdala, the part of your brain that's responsible for very strong emotions like fear, that will just interpret any perceived threat in your life as just fear, like a physical fear. Doesn't matter if it's like a threat to your life or if it's just like a weird email or just something. And so that's just one example of, you really have to be conscious about what you're putting into your life, but also more importantly, that just the system that we live in right now makes it a lot harder. And that's why it's important to be self-compassionate. Relating back to Buddhism, there's the idea of, yeah, there's the event, there's the act that happened. And so that can cause initial pain, but then how you react to it emotionally and mentally, that can decide whether it causes more pain. I think it's like there's like a story of the arrow being fired. So yeah, it pierces your body and there's going to be pain from that no matter what. But then you can just accept it and just take it out. Or you could be like, oh my God, I can't believe I got shot. And then all the emotions start pouring, and how you react to it can help decide, I guess, where your mental health goes from there.
Interesting. And so what you're saying too with that story is that you can't control whether or not you get shot by the arrow, but you can control whether or not you feel better based
Yeah.
on your reaction to it.
Yeah. I think the lesson the Buddha was trying to make from there is, well, you got shot. You can just take it out. It's fine. You're not dead. You can just move on with your life. or you could just linger and grieve for the pain or for what you lost. And then you hold that in and then it just builds up, and that's not helping you. So it's important for you to like, just be mindful of that. Or there's like another story. It's like another cheeky story where there are two monks. They are walking down the road, and then there was this like woman who needed help crossing like a river. And so the older monks, okay, let me hold you. I guess it was like Princess Carrie or something. It was scandalous during that time. And so they cross the river and then they drop off the woman, lead their separate ways. And the younger monk is, I can't believe you actually picked her up and held her and stuff. And the older monk was, I left that woman at the riverbank, but you're still holding on to her.
Whoa. So what does that mean?
It's the same thing, I think, as the arrow, where that's my interpretation, where there's that initial act, and then there's how you react to it. Are you going to hold on to it? Are you going to accept and let it go? Are you going to detach? In one scenario, that's you being injured. The other scenario is, yeah, it might be a little bit social taboo, but at least you're helping someone out. And yeah, I guess in all these scenarios, it really is to illustrate that point of situations will happen to you. And you can acknowledge that initial fear or the initial frustration or whatever. At some point, you have to let it go. It might help to process the emotions through therapy or venting with a friend, but it's not going to be helpful for you to hold on to it, like as a grudge or maybe as a victimhood mentality. It's at some point you have to let it go.
Is there anything in your life that you've had to let go because it wasn't healthy to hold on to anymore?
I'm sure there was lots.
I saw the light bulb go off on your...
Yeah. A lot past romances. I guess recently, one thing, yeah, my car's catalytic converter got stolen.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, I was so frustrated. And then I was looking at the bill and how much it would cost and all the money. And then it's like that indignity of I have to spend more money just to because someone wronged me. Someone thought it was okay to take my property. And those were emotions, the anger, the frustration, that's all valid. But then I held on to it because once again, that indignity was always there. At a certain point, the thieves, not only did they harm me physically, financially, but then they're continuing to harm me mentally and emotionally. And it wasn't helpful because then it was just sucking my whatever enjoyment I had in my life at that point away. And in this sense, I guess by holding on to it, I was letting them win because they were further ruining my life. I had to let that go. It happened. It's being repaired. I'm taking steps to make sure it doesn't happen again, knock on wood. And that's it. That's the situation. I have to move on with my life. And in that case, it's like a major minor event. I'm thinking the hardest times where it would be to practice that is someone you love, you lose them. Or I think that would be the most major thing because that the grief you feel, the loss, that will take so much longer to recover from. But at some point, holding on to those emotions won't help you or anyone else. I think that's what, like 5 stages of grief, the last stage is acceptance.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's along those same lines.
The example that you just said about your catalytic converter, I had a scare happen to me the other week about that too. And I think that I used to have a teacher tell me, Helen, no thought gets free real estate in your mind. And there's something called the cognitive triangle in a lot of therapy treatment. It's your thoughts affect your feelings, which affect your actions. And so the thoughts that you allow to ruminate in your mind actually breed what you feel and breed what you do. And so I think that you being aware of your thoughts when it came to your catalytic converter, it seems really funny in retrospect. In that time, it's such an increased inconvenience in your life because you don't have the convenience of your car. It's in repair. It's a financial obligation. And so I loved your perspective about I could continue to let this event rule me and define who I become, or I can choose to just let it go and bear the suffering and bear the consequence. But I choose to not let it rule me anymore, which I think is really powerful. And so I want to close today's interview, Jonathan, by asking you if you could give one aspiring meditation practitioner, 2 golden pieces of advice to begin their meditation or mindfulness practice, what advice would you give them?
Only 2?
Only 2. If you want,
Only
we could
2.
do a part 2, and I'd love to have you back again.
I would guess number 1, find a good teacher and a good community. It goes back to, we never really touched upon it in this session, but I think the Americanization or the Westernization of meditation practices have really taken out a lot of the community and spirituality and traditions that people have found so helpful historically with meditation, just linked to Buddhism or Hinduism. So I guess the first piece of advice is find a good teacher and a sangha, a community to be a part of, to keep you accountable, to share in your experiences and your suffering. And the other one would really just baby steps. I would even say that apps like Headspace, Insight, they're all good initially, but the whole point is eventually you'll want to meditate without them. At some point,
so they're like training wheels.
Yeah, they're training wheels.
Yeah.
Like you go from, meditate for a minute in a line or have a guided meditation through an app, to at any point in your life, you can just close your eyes and sit down. I'm just going to close my eyes for a couple minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, 5 minutes, and just be. Because at the end of the day, this is literally one of the most free activities in the world. All you have to do at the end of the day is sit and breathe, or just
that's so powerful,
and notice your life, other people's lives.
That's so powerful. And I want you to listen to this, everybody, because I think Jonathan said something that was really powerful. You said meditation is one of the most free things that you can do, to just close your eyes and breathe a little bit. And I think that's something that we don't do. We think we need a meditation app, or we need all of these extra tools like our phone or our AirPods. At least that's what I tell myself. I was even considering buying a paid subscription. And not to say that there's anything wrong with that, because there are a ton of free online classes out there from teachers across the world. But there's something so beautiful about being able to sit with yourself without any of that additional stuff. And so thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Helen, for inviting me out.